I'm very happy to hear that. It'll be May 1st, and it's a big
yes,
day.
we're going to have a huge demonstration at Central Park on May 1st.
We're going to want to talk about that. That's really good. If ever there was a timely event, that'd be it. I'll be there with bells.
That's wonderful.
But, I'm really glad you could get in.
Thanks.
And the site is great, I must say. I went there, spent a lot of time there. And congratulations on it all, and welcome very much to Conversations. Pleasure to welcome to the program an old friend of Conversations and the world, and that being Alice Slater. And she is particularly involved in a movement called Abolition 2000 and Abolition Now, two events that are, two activities that are concerned with the question of the atomic bomb and destructive capability and what we might be doing about that. She's also the founder of Grace, and she's had a very, very illustrious and interesting career development that's serving well the human condition. And Alice Slater, really welcome to the program. It's good to see you again.
I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah. I wonder, we're going to want to talk about that, abolition and that, because that's really good and it's all. But I wonder, why don't you, we've been a guest in the past, but could you share a little of your own background? You've been involved in the trenches of social concerned organizations, so forth, for quite a long time.
I cut my teeth in 1968. I was a suburban housewife with two small children, and I was watching television in Massapequa, Long Island, and I saw old news film of Ho Chi Minh going to Woodrow Wilson in 1919.
Wow, really?
Yes, it was CBS Reports when CBS was really reporting.
Yeah,
Edward
CBS
R.
was great, and those white papers they used to put on.
Yeah, not like the shambles we have now.
Seems that way to me, yeah.
But anyway, I saw this news film, and he was begging Woodrow Wilson after World War I to please help him get the French out of Vietnam. They treated the Vietnamese so poorly. I mean, it was just like Gone with the Wind. I mean, instead of cotton plantations, they had rubber plantations, and they were enslaving the Vietnamese people in this colonial system, and we turned him down.
Right, which had ruled for so many hundreds of years, actually, and was in the it was going to retreat. It was characteristic of the 20th century that there was a retreat back to Europe by the European colonializers, by and large.
Well, this was like the last gasp of the French Empire, so we...
I don't know about Algeria came up.
Well, that came later.
Yeah,
that's
that was
true.
an awful thing. Yeah, but go ahead, yeah.
We turned him down.
Right.
And, of course, the Soviets were more than happy to help. And that's how he became a communist. And I'm watching this, like, totally illiterate about history. And they also showed how he modeled his Constitution after our United States Constitution.
Tom Jefferson.
So I'm absorbing this. And then the same night, on the news, the kids at Columbia University had locked the president of the university in his office, and there were riots at Columbia University right here in our hometown.
And all over the country.
But this was the...
Oh, yeah.
And I was terrified. I thought my whole world was falling apart at Columbia University, that young students should behave this way, because I had already turned 30, and at that time they were saying, don't trust anyone over 30.
That was Abby Hoffman.
And I said to my husband, what are they doing? Don't they know we have a political process? This is America. And I figured I better do something. And I went
You
down.
hadn't been active before that?
No.
Had you gone to university and whatnot?
Yes, I was a college graduate. I was an elementary school teacher. After my children were grown, I went back and became a lawyer.
Okay. Oh, you've got a law degree then. Okay, good.
But anyway, I went to the Democrat Club, and I joined. They were having a debate between the Hawks and the Doves, and I joined the Doves, and within a month, I was very active in Eugene McCarthy's campaign.
Yeah, he was starting to emerge,
And he was taking a stand against the war. And what I learned from that and all the subsequent political action that I've done, I did, we formed the whole Democratic Party. We nominated George McGovern. Then we saw the media didn't give him a break. But we actually did end the war in Vietnam because of our actions. And we saw the end of apartheid in the South. We got rid of segregation. We saw it fold in South Africa, and the women's liberation movement. So I've been an activist ever since in many different ways, and I really think we can make a difference.
And you've been a progressive, and you see that the development has been a progressive one.
Well, I think
we've had some pretty ups and downs. Remember McCarthy? Remember COINTELPRO?
Yes, yes.
Vietnam itself. We killed something between 3 and 4 million people.
Yes, but there was a correction. We had an acknowledgement. We had an impeachment of the president. We had the The Pentagon Papers were published. The truth of the war came out. I think we're at a very unique crossroads in American history right now, because I believe that while there were always these empirical forces working, you know, the empire, the corporate domination, the military-industrial complex, the vast majority of Americans, including myself, were not aware of it because it was portrayed as a fight with communism. And when the Soviet Union fell, there was no longer any excuse for us to maintain these nuclear arsenals. You know, that was the Cold War. We were being threatened by Russia, and so that was how we were justifying the buildup of all these nuclear arms in the United States. And then the Cold War ended, and I really thought it would be over in a few years, and that's when we formed Abolition 2000, actually in 1995. Because...
That was part of Grace? Or no, it was another... No. You're part of a larger organization, Abolition 2000?
Abolition 2000 is a global network of over 2,000 organizations in 90 countries working for a treaty to eliminate nuclear weapons.
Okay.
And we were, and Grace is another nonprofit where I work, and we're a member of the network.
And you're very interested in environmental questions and that sort of thing there, as well as others, the larger panoply of things. Yeah, but this one particular event has sort of been a focusing one for you.
Yes,
and me too, I may say,
I mean, I got very active in this issue in 1990. Well, in the late 80s, I joined the Lawyers Alliance for Nuclear Arms Control while I was working in commercial law. I did that because I wanted to get back into volunteer work, and I learned more than anybody should ever have to know about nuclear weapons.
Really?
I became one of the world's leading experts on where they are, who has them, what we're spending on them, what we're doing with them.
How destructive they are?
Yes. Well, that, I think people know that.
I don't know. Maybe. We were at an event the other night with Jonathan Schell, among others.
Yes.
And one of the most impressive books in my whole life was that Fate of the Earth that he wrote back in 1982, I think. And remember, we got 1 million people in Central Park. Were you there by any chance?
Yes.
Yes, I was too. And so it seemed all the whole world.
Right. And we want to do that again May 1st.
Yeah.
And we're building up this big campaign.
We were just chatting as it began. You came to the mayor's office today, and they've given you approval for a May 1st.
Well, we're in discussion. It looks like it's going to happen. I don't want to commit to it on this show.
I didn't want to let something out of the bag, but let's hope May 1st we'll have a demonstration and begin to focus on this.
Yes, and we've already gotten permission to have the Central Park, so that is a done deal. But we're figuring out march routes and and all that.
That was better than the anti-Republican people could do at the time of the convention. And you're not going to trample the grass?
Well,
you're going to float over the top of the grass so you won't have to trample it?
I'd rather talk about this when we're...
Oh, okay, fine. I'm sorry. All right, okay. I'm
but we're not getting the Great Lawn. No. I mean, they're still giving us a hard time on the grass.
All right.
But we're in the park.
Yeah, usually there's... All right, we're in the ballpark. Anyway, we're in the ballpark, right?
Actually, we're in the ballpark. Yeah, right. Extra ballpark.
Right, okay, that's good. But anyway, that thing, we were just chatting, and Mr. Jonathan Schell, who is... those chapters, particularly in his book, The Fate of the Earth, where he... faced into the fact that the weapons, we were just chatting before we began taping, that the weapons, that we've been here 200,000 years or so, 10,000 generations, and we would get from one bow and arrow to another one, and then we got a rifle, and then we got a Gatling gun, and then we got a tank. But always in those cases, it was an example, the weapons that we had were some, and then we had those awful napalm. Remember in Vietnam, they put napalm on women and children and that sort of thing. But the weapons were such that there would always be, you could wipe out the tribe in the other village, or maybe you could do a good deal of damage to the other nation or something. But the continuation of the evolutionary process of which we're a part, that Homo sapien sapien, was vouchsafed by our impotency. And it seems to be, and Mr. Schell said the other night that he thought the situation is getting more dangerous. It seemed to be quiescent in the 90s. People maybe thought it has gone away because we defeated the Soviet Union. Mr. Fukuyama writes the end of history, that sort of thing. But he said that it's coming, and it's coming front and center now in the national and world consciousness.
This is what I started to say. When the Soviet Union fell, my thinking was, well, now we'll certainly get rid of these terrible nuclear weapons that have the power to destroy all life on Earth. I mean, it's another magnitude of weapon.
Yeah, but do you understand what you just said, Alice?
Yeah.
Do you realize the magnitude of what we just said?
Yes.
We were born in our lifetime
Without
in the
that
Second
power.
World War, we didn't have that.
Right.
So there's been a major, monumental, should be up on the wall of every think tank and every consciousness in the world, that we've crossed an existentially relevant new status in terms of our role here in the universe. And it doesn't seem to be significant enough as they focus in on beauty queens and what other things in the name of
I think that's
news,
deliberate. I think that's
It's
deliberate.
distracting.
I think the forces that create nuclear weapons, the forces in our country that are making new nuclear weapons, we're spending $7 billion this year on new, smaller, more usable nuclear weapons.
Busters?
The bunker busters, which everybody says if you were to penetrate a nuclear weapon into the earth, the fallout would be tremendous. It would crash up through the air, so it would be like shooting ourselves in the foot. You know, it would not be a contained explosion. But all those forces that are driving that are the same forces that created the arms race, that created this empire, this succession of empires. Now America's stepping up to the imperial plate.
Hyperpower. Got military forces apparently in 130 countries around the world.
Well,
and
nobody even talks in Iraq that we want to put 14 military bases in Iraq.
Permanent bases, deep in the ground. Yeah, right. It's not
so
exactly.
what was that all about? Really?
Yeah. The Iraq thing is there before us now.
And what did we use as an excuse? That the mushroom cloud, that Saddam Hussein could threaten us with a mushroom cloud.
Right.
And now we're heating up the rhetoric against North Korea's nuclear weapons, against Iran's intention to reprocess its nuclear material, which will give it the ability to make bombs. And I feel like it's very important. We're at a crossroads now. When Jonathan Schell said it's getting more dangerous, it is.
He not only said it's getting dangerous, he also said it's coming into the focus of the consciousness of the world in a way that it was maybe in 1982, and then it seemed to go away because we thought, the good guys have won, and everyone wants to think they belong to the good guy entity that is part of history's. They think that.
But when we're talking about the good guys, just think about the meeting between Gorbachev and Reagan, where Gorbachev said to Reagan, let's commit to get rid of all nuclear weapons by the year 2000. This was in 1986. And Reagan said, great. But Gorbachev said, but we won't do it if you plan to go ahead and weaponize space.
Yeah.
And Reagan said, oh, no, I need my Star Wars. And so the deal fell through. So there's always this U.S. push in this last part of the century to up the ante.
Yeah, and that we are, again, to underscore the fact that we're in a new kind of ball game now. I suppose when first, remember they got the Winchester where you could pump the thing really fast, you didn't have to load a musket. Then they got the Gatling gun, and then they would say, well, we can't allow them to have the Gatling gun because it gives us an advantage. Then you get an atomic submarine, and you get but now it's something kind of in a brand new kind of way. It may mean that we're going to have to abolish the reasons for war between the peoples of the world in a way that existentially is the challenge and must be addressed, and seems not to be. We're going on the same old patterns of geopolitical thinking that have been our lot for 200,000 years of human history.
I think we're moving into a new paradigm. I mean, you have the Millennium Goals at the UN that Kofi Annan put out to end hunger on the planet. I mean, they're actually coming together this September in a meeting, all the heads of states, to see how we can halve the amount of people living in extreme poverty by 2015.
Jeffrey Sachs has that idea.
Yeah, he's been working on it. There's like a lot of new goals being put out. The whole green hydrogen economy will empower everybody to access the sun and the wind and the tides to make their own energy, and we don't have to, we'll be able to turn off this trend towards global warming and won't have to fight oil wars to,
But wasn't that a war in Iraq, an oil war?
And
aren't we still fighting an oil war? And aren't we still confronting? It was, remember Pogo?
But who is the we?
You remember Pogo?
Yeah.
Pogo possibly said, we have met the enemy and he is us. That sort of thing. And Americans don't want to think that way. And now we have this imperial presidency that is walking with big league boots all over the world.
And they just want to appoint this guy, John Bolton.
Isn't that something amazing?
It's so embarrassing.
The biggest the biggest critic of the UN as an institution there is, and they appoint him to the UN.
Doesn't think
Poindexter's back from Contra fame, remember? It's almost surreally, I don't want to say funny, it's almost like a comic opera, and there it is.
But I think that the American people have been stupefied into mass unconsciousness. I mean, there's a concentration of media. The message is so paltry. They're getting their minds filled up with Monica and O.J. and Lacey. Or you have the stock market, the ticker tape going all the time. Like now, everybody's in the market. I remember about 8 years ago, the market took a big dip, and like all the institutional investors were pulling out, the banks and the insurance companies. And then it popped back up, and the Daily News had this big headline.
We're back.
The little guy saves the market.
Oh, boy.
And I said, boy, are we in trouble. But it's true.
Oh, yeah.
They've got everybody, like, buying into the game, you know, the greed game, the make get rich. And that's not the American dream. I mean,
bling, bling. You're going to make a whole bunch of money with your bling, bling things and everything like that. But hasn't it always been a problem of that in a sense? Or is it? I mean, the unwashed masses, they were more enlightened.
There have been times where people got the message. That's what I was saying. In 1968, I got the message. I was watching CBS News, and I got the message. I don't think people have an opportunity to get the message today. I think it's mass manipulation of media. They're firing respected journalists, you know, for a small mistake.
Yeah, Laurie Garrett just gave a scathing attack of Newsweek, I think, you know, and it was really interesting.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, just look at the Dan Rather thing. Even if the document that he used was wrong, the story was true.
I love the Danziger cartoon. You like political cartoons? Yeah, they're really fun. They're gestalt, and the guy standing there in front of the White House press talking to the press, and behind him is this whole cloud of disaster, Iraq and all this kind of stuff, and he just wanted to make sure that CBS had their information correct, you know.
Right.
And, I mean, that information, we were led into that on all false pretenses from top to bottom in the name of some ideology that a lot of people are buying into, and, you know, it's getting pretty far down the line.
Look what happened in this last election. I mean, this is really a scary time for us because there was a bill in Congress for a year and a half, Russ Holt from New Jersey, to require a paper trail on the computer votes. Oh, yeah. And the Republicans would not allow it to come to a vote. And there was so many irregularities in the votes, including the exit polls showing that Kerry won in Ohio.
And the Democrats are supine.
They rolled over.
The Democrats have been supine. I heard you say earlier about reforming the Democratic Party.
Well, that's what we did at that time.
I wonder if that is characteristic. I mean, is it? We can criticize in certain political, partisan kind of way the Republican Party, and particularly this neocon cabal.
Well, no, they're the same party right now.
But are they the same party as the Democrats? The Democrats
yes.
It's the established.
They're getting money from the same people. They're all bought. There's a lot of corruption.
All right,
in politics.
And it goes into it goes into our corporate structure. It goes into the legal system. It goes into our educational system.
How could nobody have taken responsibility for what happened at Abu Ghraib? That is so against everything all Americans believe in, and yet nobody...
Mr. Gonzalez, our Attorney General, taking a winking look at it and saying, well... You know.
This is why I think that we're at a critical moment in our history.
But
and nuclear weapons are a great example of something we can win, because this May... the Non-Proliferation Treaty is coming to the United Nations to meet.
Okay.
This is a treaty that was signed in 1970 where 5 nuclear weapon states, the U.S., Russia, China, France, and England, promised to give up their nuclear weapons if everybody else promised not to get them. And here it is in 35 years later, and there are still 30,000 nuclear weapons on the planet, which is enough to create nuclear winter and destroy all life on Earth. So they're coming to this meeting.
We underscore. That's new.
Yeah, right.
That's not. It's not your Gatling gun.
No.
It's not your longbow. It's not your rifle.
Well, this
it's not a tank. It's not even a dreadnought. It's something brand new. And there should
it's not that brand new. We're living with it since 1945.
Yeah. Well,
and Einstein
No, but
said,
new in the whole sweep of human history.
Yes.
I mean. Yeah.
But in our lifetime, we've been living with it a long time.
Yeah.
And when the Cold War ended and the wall fell, the fact that we weren't able at that point to say to us and Russia, where we still have 5,000 weapons on hair trigger alert, ready to go at any second.
Yeah, right.
I mean, at 10 minutes notice, even by accident, we could start nuclear. That still exists today shows that this is more than just an anti-communist employ, that there are forces keeping this in place.
And they're confronting the situation, if I may, because we were ticking off. And it's not just the neocons. They've sort of, some people think it's been like a coup d'etat. They've taken over this country, and they're basing their appeal upon reptilian core fears and things. And the fears have been all upgraded because we can now destroy everybody, that sort of thing. But it's not only them, it's the whole system that we've developed historically, and we've come into a new condition in terms of the weapons, the imperatives of the existential new condition we're in because of the weapon system. But there would be an adverse alteration in terms of the whole system of understanding, which would call for some rationale for why we would have a capability to do something differently than what we've done throughout history, but we're still using all the same assumptions of geopolitical power, right makes right, all these kind of things. Something must have altered in terms of the zeitgeist on the positive side that would make something different than the destructiveness that we've been carrying out throughout all of human history, awakened from the nightmare that James Joyce called a history. Something is different. Something new is blowing in the wind, as Bobby Dylan said, and it doesn't seem to be enunciated as part of the basis for establishing the institutional systems by which humanity will interaccommodate
but I
each other.
think you are hearing a lot of voices for no war.
Well, but to say no war,
for no weapons.
Why no war? We've always had war. Why would there be no war? What's changed?
Because we cannot continue to have war because the weapons we have now do not serve us. They will wipe out ourselves as well as our enemies.
Mutually assured destruction.
Right. I mean, we have to. And look, it's only since 1968, really. Is that the year that we landed on the moon and looked at our Earth?
69.
69, and
70.
saw our Earth as a unified, beautiful blue globe.
That's right.
It's not that long in our consciousness. In other words, there is a rising new consciousness.
What is that consciousness based upon? On a positive vein, not on a negative reactionary
that we're
we can destroy.
Interdependent, interconnected, and that we can't win a war against someone without killing ourselves.
But that's the way we. But you're not answering. If I could, you're not. What has changed? Has something changed that makes possible a largely seen context for the human condition, the evolution of events on this planet that is positive? Something altered. What has altered that makes something now different that was not possible out of the historical context out of which we're evolving? Do you understand?
Yes, but what has altered historically?
Rather than say, be nice. Let's be nice. We've never been nice. Always the strong win. The strong write the laws. The strong write the history.
Yes, but common sense tells you that you can't have a nuclear war and win. How can you win a nuclear war? I mean, if the U.S. has 12,000 nuclear weapons, North Korea with its 2 bombs in the basin can threaten us. They're useless.
No, but
they're useless in terms of our survival. Because
what would they say? They can intimidate. They can intimidate with their overwhelming power.
No,
and they will say,
we're intimidated. Now every country can have nuclear weapons
what we have to
intimidate us.
No, but what they have to do.
What is the only thing that can intimidate the United States with all our tanks and guns and planes and superior conventional military force? One little country could have 1 or 2 nuclear weapons and they can wipe out New York and Washington.
All right, but wiping out New York and Washington isn't setting off a Holocaust that's going to destroy the whole thing.
No, but I mean the U.S. doesn't want to suffer that kind of a loss.
No, they don't. But then is it like the Internet? You know, they're getting to where everything is becoming very democratized now. So you got great people who had a thing, and people are getting... I saw Ted Turner one time. He's kind of a... I like him. I like Ted Turner. He's an interesting guy. He was in the Meet the Press. He was in the big room, at the press room in Washington. The press, what do you call that place? You know,
National Press Club.
Yeah, he's there. He's in the big room. He's giving a talk. He says, well, that's right. He said, wow, what is this? He said, on the atomic. He said, well, hell. He said, we got thousands of them. We go around intimidating all the world. Hell, he says, this is going out to all the world. He says, I think everybody ought to have an atomic bomb, and we could level the playing field a little bit, you know. Now, we're on an all-tilt...
That is so macho. That is so yang. Because the fact that you can actually be responsible for the results of what you've created and not to have just simple common sense for the households of the planet. To think that you could have these horrifically dangerous weapons proliferating and multiplying and that they'll never be used is a foolish thought.
Well, I know.
So once you know that proliferation inevitably will lead to use, you must conclude that it's better to get rid of all of them, including our own.
Well, that's been something that
that's
people
common sense.
Yeah, but it's probably been common sense in terms of the. I mean, Lysistrata, where they're going to remember the plays and that they're going to not allow war because they're going to go off and kill the youth and all that and all this terrible thing they try and things, and people still keep doing it. And so we're still doing it. Everybody's still doing it. And a lot of people say, well, we need an atomic. If you have an atomic bomb, nobody's going to attack you. You're going to protect yourself.
Not everybody's still doing it. Like New Zealand, they would not allow the U.S. to home port their nuclear submarines there. They're working night and day to try to get treaty talks started on a treaty to get rid of nuclear weapons. There are a whole bunch of countries that are coming into this UN meeting saying that if the U.S. doesn't agree to sit down, we're going to take it out of the UN, out of the NPT, and start an Ottawa process for nuclear weapons where we get other countries negotiating, and hopefully the U.S. citizenship will take back our democracy because we didn't have a democratic election last time or the time before.
Well, it's pretty
and change our government, so that we have reasonable.
So who have we got? We said before that we're not talking just about the neocons and Mr. Bush and so forth. Now we're talking about the whole system.
Well,
we're talking about the Democratic Party. They're supine.
The neocons,
they have they're all going along with the geopolitical. See, what I'm saying is that history has changed in terms of the capability. So it must be that in terms of the peaceful thing, rather than saying, let's be nice, or it makes sense, or it's common sense, let's not kill that there's something has changed in the zeitgeist.
But the
on the
people
positive
are changing.
Side.
There were 1 million people in the street to
98.
stop the war in Iraq. And we didn't carry our weight.
You think there were a million?
No, there were 1 million in New York.
Yeah, you think there were?
There were 10 million.
I know. I was there,
world.
all clogged up.
And the New York Times said that now there are two superpowers: the U.S. and the power of the people that marched all around the world.
Yeah.
There were people
there may be
in
hope
Seattle.
In that, right.
There were people in Seattle, like hundreds of thousands of people marching against this corporate rape of the earth. I mean,
which goes on.
It has not yet been translated into political power because the system is very corrupt.
The system is corrupt.
But there is a ferment of people and action on the internet. I mean, we raised
public access television.
This too.
Yeah.
But just think about Dean's candidacy, which got aborted by the party regulars.
Well, he's in charge of the Democratic Party now.
No, but the Republicans during the primaries, they ganged up the party regulars and gave their weighted votes to Kerry, who was for the war. I mean, Dean was an anti-war.
Yeah, they're for it.
But look at the kind of fundraising he did on the internet. I mean, he matched Bush dollar for dollar because the people do have power.
Yeah, but now they've had the purple election in Iraq, so everybody's saying everything's going great. Now Syria's pulling out of Lebanon. They're going to have everything, and we're going to have democracy, Mr. Bush says. And everybody who leads empires think they're going to bring good. They don't think they're going to bring bad and corruption and
but
oppression.
America doesn't lead empires. America has a whole different manifesto
Not
and
the current
idealism.
leadership.
Right, but they don't reflect our ideal.
But they're being followed. They're being followed by a huge number of people.
Not a huge number.
You don't think so? Huh?
Well, they got half the vote.
Yeah, but there was that election. They got the vote.
If they got half, if it was honest.
They got it. They got it, and they got the bit in their teeth, and they're
right. But I mean, it's not over till it's over.
Yeah.
You know, you got to lose and lose and lose until you win.
That's
what Gandhi
said. Is humanity ever going to win?
Yes.
Where? Why?
Gandhi
Why? What's changed? I'm sorry.
Well, let's look at what Mahatma Gandhi did. I mean, non-violently, he got the British to leave India just by the power of masses of people.
He did that.
Look at what Martin Luther King did in the South. We have our strategies now.
Yeah, that was a different time, was it?
Well,
you were thinking 68 when you were getting there was a whole thing blowing in the wind. Bobby Dylan said there was something going on.
But this is the
and
time.
That's about the same time, if I may, Alice. That's about the same time we crossed the line where we could, with the weapons that exist, destroy the whole human species.
You know, you like science. I want to talk about chaos theory.
Okay.
Chaos theory says that the tiniest flutter of a butterfly's wing can affect the whole course of history.
Yeah.
I don't know what the event or the person or the speech that's going to shift
tipping
this.
Point,
Right, the tipping point. But I know we're on a roll. When I saw the people that came out in New York to stop the war in Iraq, although we didn't succeed.
We didn't, you'll know.
When I marched in Seattle, all those people came out.
You were at Seattle
protest.
at the World?
Yes.
You were there?
Yes, we were.
Did you get gas?
No,
Oh,
I
you
didn't.
You stayed above that.
I was in the peaceful part.
Oh, I see, right, yeah.
But I mean, just the fabulous march.
Yeah, 99, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a rising tide of people. They just had a meeting in Porto Alegre with a couple of 100,000 people. Another world is possible, coming from all over the world. We're connected on the internet. We haven't broken through the power structures yet, but I know that we will.
And do we have an effective
because we're right
message? Do we have an effective message other than negative, reacting to what they're doing?
Our message is peace,
what
love,
is it?
Equality. It's the American
love,
dream for the whole world.
But we don't have a system that encourages that.
Well, you have Jeffrey Sachs now talking about the Millennium Goals, Columbia, to halve poverty by 2015 on the planet.
Well, they said that in 2000 too. They were going to do that,
but
and those goals of Agenda 21 haven't been met very well, I don't think. And
the fact that the goals are out there, that responsible people are talking about them, that this September heads of state are coming from all around the world to look at the Millennium Goals and say, where are we? How well? I mean, maybe it doesn't happen as fast as, and basically the U.S. is putting a brake on a lot of it.
Yes. Yeah.
But all right, there's still the whole rest of the world. We are one world. I mean, we're going to have to catch up to our more enlightened cousins in Europe, you know, I mean, that are better ahead of the game.
Okay, you said something there. They have a more leftist, social, democratic leaning of the government by and large.
They don't want genetically modified food. They've passed a law in Europe that you can't have that. Not here, because the corporations are so powerful. They say that you have to use the precautionary principle in Europe, where if there's something that may be harmful to the environment, to health, to the water, it's not up to us to prove the harm. It's up to the polluter to prove that it's safe. In Europe, they've shifted the burden of proof to the polluter.
Yeah, they have.
Here in America, we're, corporate free-for-all.
Yeah, it is.
And, our whole government is like a shopping market.
Yeah, I know. It's all up for sale,
But look, Teddy Roosevelt came along at the turn of the century and busted the trust.
That's true.
This is the kind of energy we're going to have to produce, and I see a lot of it.
Okay, that's good. Well, okay, I know we're in the same ballpark here. As
I know
say.
You want the good news. You're asking where is it?
Yeah, where is it? When you say. But anyway, listen, I know among other things you got this thing coming, and you got a little video piece you brought in, a piece of DVD.
Yes.
It's about 5 minutes long.
Let me talk to you a little bit about it before.
Okay, fine.
The reason that I think this is such an exciting time this year for nuclear abolition is that the mayors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki have organized the Mayor's Emergency Campaign to ban nuclear weapons. They're enrolling mayors all over the world.
Mayors in all parts of the world?
Every country.
Mayors at the mayoral
Mayors, because we said we can't count on presidents and legislatures. We have to go to our own home community.
But are the mayors caught up in the same web of corruption that the national
Not the ones
leaders
that are enrolling with us.
Oh, okay,
and
right.
they know, we have the mayor of London, they know that mayors are the ones that are going to take the heat if the nuclear weapon falls
Mr.
on
Bloomberg
their city.
sign on?
No, we're doing a whole campaign around Bloomberg.
Maybe we could get him to, because he comes out of some liberal. He's had some liberal credentials in the past.
But he's been ducking us.
Yeah.
Like we.
Or Mr. Giuliani as an ex-mayor. You're going to have ex-mayors?
Yeah, but at the last the preparatory meeting for this non-proliferation treaty meeting in 2004, we brought a delegation of 15 mayors, including the mayor of Kiev, near Chernobyl, Sarajevo, Tel Aviv, the mayors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
They're involved in this counter movement? Yeah.
And Bloomberg refused to meet with them.
He refused.
And we had this wonderful guy from the city council, Councilman Bill
Perkins.
He welcomed them at City Hall. He came to the UN. Anyway, this year we've again approached Mayor Bloomberg, and we're to keep at him. We have different groups writing letters. The War Resisters League is talking about doing direct action.
David McReynolds? Yeah.
Yes. And
God bless David McReynolds.
And I'm thinking we'll do a wanted poster, like wanted Mayor Bloomberg at the UN. But anyway, the reason this year is so exciting is because the mayors are where the grassroots are enrolling mayors. They're coming to the UN. This is the 2005 NPT review. In 2000, Clinton made a whole bunch of promises. Maintain the ABM treaty, which Bush has trashed.
Kyoto.
Make nuclear weapons disarmament irreversible,
Across
which we're not. We're building new ones.
Across the board.
Get them out of your weapons policy. Well, we've expanded our nuclear weapons policy in the U.S. to say that we'll use nuclear weapons not even against other nuclear weapons, but against rogue states.
Somebody in a cave. We're going to have Mr. Kissinger wrote that book in 1954 about tactical nuclear weapons as part of a geostrategic domination of the world.
And the mayors are saying when they get here that if the world doesn't take this treaty seriously, which promises there will be nuclear disarmament, that they are going to start a new process for negotiations for nuclear weapons.
We could maybe begin a movement at the mayoral level rather than give up on the legislature and parliamentarians and the executives of the world.
Talking to them too.
And that's good. That's really good. And then public opinion vehicles. Yeah.
We were just at a conference with President Carter at the Carter Center with diplomats that are going to be participating.
Best
at
ex-president we have, I think.
And he's helping us. He's writing to heads of state. He's going to write an op-ed on nuclear disarmament. But that's the 5-minute video shows the Mayors of Peace campaign.
It's the Mayors of Peace. Okay, so we've got that. And maybe you could set that up if you can in the studio. We're talking with Alice Slater, and she's a beautiful, positive force, and God bless you all for let's get this thing going and everything. But let's run that up, set that up and run that piece now then, please, if you would. Thank you very much.
On August 6, 1945, the United States detonated a nuclear bomb over the Japanese city of Hiroshima. Over 70,000 people were killed instantly. More than 100,000 were seriously injured. 3 days later, a second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. Another 40,000 were killed outright, and nearly 100,000 wounded. By the end of 1945, due primarily to radiation exposure, the combined death toll had risen to over 200,000. The dying and suffering continues to this day. For 2 days in April 2004, the mayors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, joined by mayors and deputy mayors from New Zealand, the United Kingdom, the United States, Israel, Ukraine, Sri Lanka, Greece, Italy, Belgium, Bosnia, and Bangladesh, representing mayors from over 100 countries around the world, came to the United Nations in New York City to demand that the horrors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki never again be repeated. The occasion? A review of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, or NPT, by its 188 member states. Their goal? To insist that the promise of the NPT be fulfilled, and to present a clear plan for worldwide nuclear disarmament by the year 2020. The basis for their passion? A commitment to protect the lives of the millions of people who live in the cities they represent, and their firm belief that nuclear weapons and humanity cannot coexist.
私ども長崎市民は1945年8月9日の被爆体験も含めて大量殺戮兵器である核兵器をこの地球上からなくさなければいけない。
It's been a real pleasure for me to be here at this. I didn't expect it to be a real pleasure. I thought it was going to be a huge amount of hard work and a huge amount of reading, and it has been both of those things, but it's also, for me personally, been a real invigorator.
I'm leaving New York with a lot of energy. I think it's important to meet other people who have the same goals, and we have a goal. It's Vision 2020.
To make sure their message was heard, the Mayors for Peace met with individual countries, including the United States, China, and India, and multinational groupings such as the European Union, the Non-Aligned Movement, the New Agenda Coalition, as well as the UN Department of Disarmament Affairs, the Parliamentary Network for Nuclear Disarmament, and many of the non-governmental organizations gathering for the NPT meeting.
What you need is to be able to assure all the countries that there will be a progressive commitment to the reduction, eventual elimination of nuclear weapons.
Universal.
Universal.
The vision to 2020 by the Mayor of Peace and the target of having nuclear weapon convention by 2010 is certainly in line with our goals.
Thank again for being with us and to use this opportunity to strengthen the relationship.
Okay, certainly, we agree with you that we should work together from all angles, all sides, towards the same objective, that is a world free from nuclear weapons. Let's do together.
The culmination of their efforts was a presentation to the NPT member states at which Hiroshima Mayor Akiba outlined a timetable for disarmament. A 2005 NPT decision to commence disarmament negotiations. A goal of 2010 for agreement on a comprehensive plan for eliminating nuclear weapons, and the full implementation of that plan by 2020.
We all need to know that whatever our conflicts, our world will not explode in terminal radioactive violence. Thank you very much.
Well, today I think we got, if you like, official recognition. In that forum, they saw who we are and what we wanted to do and what we wanted to say. I thought that was a terrific achievement.
I think a meeting like this is very useful because civil society has got to be more and more involved. This should be number one. It's life itself.
They call their mission 2020 Vision.
Well, that's really good. That's some hopeful sign. That kind of a thing. That kind of a thing is really good. And congratulations to all involved in that. You know, I mean, that's really interesting. Thanks for bringing that in, and good luck to this. And we got to look forward to this. You know, you hear people marching in the street and so on. Okay, I'll just bring it up, and then we can get on to. We want to talk about May 1. We want to let people know about that. But you know, they have this thing: no justice, no peace. You hear that?
Yeah.
Ant, right?
Yeah.
You think we're going to be, because we don't have a system that's going to bring justice. We don't have that now. The strong are getting stronger, and they're asking the weak not to have power to challenge them, and they do not have a vision of how to organize the world where you're going to be able to bring elemental justice in a Gaia sense to the whole of the human population that seems to be required. And so they're going to impose a system that does not have within it the elements by which justice is going to be able to be achieved. So we're going to have an unjust world and still have the terms for peace within an unjust world and bow down to the strong power that has all the atomic weapons. That's what I'm saying. Is it necessary for us to come to some understanding of how we're going to operate the system that is just for everybody and the environment? And lacking that, it's not going to work. I mean,
yes, but I think we've had wonderful examples. I mean, look what happened in Ukraine. I mean, we have to use democracy. America is very undemocratic right now, so we're seeing.
So is the whole world.
No, but there's people in different places that are rising up, like Ukraine did that, right? All the people came out in the street, and they wound up having a more democratic government.
Right.
Americans right now are very. I won't say all Americans, but we're not out there. That's why this campaign is so exciting. Mm-hmm. You know, we have to get out there. We have to change the levers of power. We have to give the power back to the people, because people do want peace and life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's the American dream. And there are many solutions. It's not as if we don't know what to do. I mean, there's a book that was put out by the International Forum on Globalization, Another World is Possible, gives all the solutions of how you would end hunger, practical. You know, how you would get clean, green energy distributed all over the planet. That's justice. I mean, that's equity. Justice is equity. We have to have not communism, but more sharing of the world's resources. We can't have the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer.
But they are. And that's in place, and the trends are going in that direction.
Yes, but the very fact that we're seeing those trends is waking us up now.
The fact that we're seeing the trend of the injustice and the few, everything is agglomerating at the top. And you have, I mean, we talk about Mr. Bush is running on a platform of democracy. He's bringing democracy to the world.
I know, but look.
And don't you think he is, or do you think he's
no, of course not.
buffaloing us? And he doesn't really believe in democracy. He believes in plutocracy. And don't we have a plutocracy?
But who is he buffaloing?
We have a democracy.
Is he buffaloing you?
No.
He's not buffaloing me.
No.
I mean, we're not the only two people here that know that he's full of it. And look at just like 2 weeks ago, Canada turned us down on missile defense. We put so much pressure on them, on all their industry and corporation, and the Canadian government that said it was a done deal that they were going to go into Star Wars with us, they backed off because the Canadian people are putting the pressure on their government. Now, we just have to get a little more focused here in America.
You don't think we need a vision? We
have a
vision.
Had
a vision, let's say at a theoretical level, isn't it? We had a vision. I mean, a lot of people who are progressives were what you call left-wing or are what they call socialists. Do you think the socialist vision and distributing the income according to need and that kind of thing to everybody is somehow going to work in the system's way? We live in a capitalist world. Now, the capitalists won. And the left-wing critique...
It's not over yet. They didn't win yet.
So you think that there's a chance that socialism will rise to the occasion again? And
maybe we'll create a new way. Maybe it'll be entrepreneurialism without corporate insulation from liability. Maybe you could have small businesses that they have to pay for what they pollute, that they have to be regulated, that they have to pay their labor fairly, and I mean, we don't know everything yet.
Right.
But I'll tell you something. We know now how bad capitalism is. Even many ordinary Americans that thought that conflated capitalism with democracy.
Yeah.
Like we used to think it was the same.
Yeah, but it is
not.
But
as the fall of the Soviet Union has shown us, it wasn't only that. And we have to, let this seep into public consciousness, and it is seeping in.
Well, but if I may, we can seep into consciousness the negative thing against bomb. Let's say I'm against destroying the species. I guess everyone is, okay? So that's the thing. We react to that and everything.
So then
then we have a system in place that is, let's say, in a cursory kind of way, has a democracy where you make elections. It's all a big ad campaign by big money, and they can manipulate reptilian core fears and that sort of thing. And they can do that. They have a thing you get to vote every once in a while, let somebody to go to a Congress, and they call it democracy. But we have an economic plutocracy. Small group owns all the assets.
But that's just dawning on public awareness. Yes.
Now, what has been historically the critique
of that? That's why people marched in Seattle.
Okay.
You know, I mean, that's just dawning. You're too impatient. I feel like this information is getting out, that the nuclear weapons now are really a threat. We see a new war starting, and that people will now no, not the negative. Now, the positive is that we're going to get rid of them.
Wait, the positive, get rid of the
that we're going to negotiate a treaty
and keep the unjust system.
No.
Does it have to be a systems challenge to the way the planet operates?
There has to be, but
That's
you
what I'm
see,
saying.
in order to get rid of the weapons, in order to get the negotiations
started,
in order to get the public commitments, you're going to be changing the system. You're going to be creating more democracy.
For real democracy. Yeah. All right. So that would mean democratic democracy and all kinds of things, which we have no sign of developing anywhere.
No, we have an ideal of it.
We do? You
and
think?
What's acting now is not. I mean, you can't... Look, our Constitution was so imperfect that we had to amend it. We got rid of slavery. We gave women the vote. We're going to have to get rid of the Electoral College. That's not democratic, the Electoral College. No. That's no way to pick a government.
Yeah.
I mean, but we had sort of the vision of it formed imperfectly through 18th century men's eyes, right?
Rich white men owned it all, and they still do.
But now women are voting. Yeah. Now blacks are emancipated. I mean,
they're not emancipated yet. Well, I'm sorry.
Politically emancipated.
Well, economic, I'm talking about.
Okay, but we're getting up to that.
Yeah.
I mean, the UN has the Declaration of Human Rights that we sign, but they have a Declaration of Economic and Social Rights that the United States never agreed to. I mean, so that's something we're going to have to be thinking about also. What are there's more than just the human rights of freedom of speech and religion and assembly and press, all the things that Americans hold so dear.
Economics is probably the real basic thing.
Well, there's both.
Yeah, okay.
You can't have one without the other.
Oh, you can't have one without the other.
Or you don't have real democracy.
Yeah, well, you don't. That's what I'm trying to say.
Real democracy.
They should stop saying we're going to bring democracy. They don't have democracy.
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
We should get rid of them.
The American system that's being imposed upon the world is not a democracy. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
It's only a very truncated little political thing, and it's an economic plutocracy.
But people...
It's a few leadership people that are in control.
More people are seeing this.
You think so?
Yes.
I don't know adequately. We had a socialist critique that, found expression in Soviet Union. I don't know what the heck's happening in China. But what is the theoretical critique of the whole system? That's what I'm getting at. That we can offer against
capitalism cannot go untrammeled. It has to be regulated. It has gotten out of hand.
Yeah.
We're in like this unleashed time. It's like the Roaring 20s.
Yeah.
Right? Or the turn of the century when Teddy Roosevelt came around, passed antitrust laws, they regulated the slaughterhouses. Since Reagan, everything's been deregulated. That's what we're living in the middle of now. That's it's not going to go on forever.
Do you see countervailing forces?
Yes.
You're a countervailing force. All right, God bless you.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, but think of all the people that, as I said, that marched in Seattle, that marched against the war, even though we haven't won yet.
And around the world, allies around the world. If ever you got some sort of a thing that could
Just
really tap into their angst and their upset with the system that's calling itself democracy, that would be a critique of the whole system. Then maybe that would be good.
Bush can't visit a country. He goes in a bubble. They clear the streets. They have thousands of police and army around him. They won't let him get near people. When he has a press conference, it's totally controlled. When he goes and travels around America to talk on his issues to the people of America, they screen every single person that goes into the meeting. There's been story after story about
there may be hope in that.
There isn't really democracy now. They're trying to give an illusion.
Thank you.
And they're manipulating public opinion.
Thank you.
But we have what's going for us. We have the sense of we know what it is, and we think we have it.
Good.
A lot of people,
All right. I'm sorry. I'm railing. I just happen to be in a bad. But anyway, like that. But you're right. And also, it's like a pregnancy. When a pregnancy is coming, it has a thing in its own time. And now they're juggling atomic bombs, and they're talking about going.
Right.
And it's just a sense of urgency. We got to have an alarm clock wake us up.
Exactly.
To some, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I guess that's what you're doing.
Right.
Actually, God bless you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. and all your colleagues.
But the nuclear weapons, to me, are like, look, we're all living in this global household. Like, even the word economy is from the Greek word household.
Is it?
Economos.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't realize.
So we're all sitting in our global living room.
Yeah.
And there's a fire in the toaster in the kitchen, and that's nuclear weapons. And
fire in the toaster?
Did you ever see where your toaster catches fire?
Yeah, but I was thinking more about the whole furnace blowing up.
No, maybe it's at the furnace level.
Yeah,
furnace level. But I'm
or
saying,
the boiler in the basement.
But whatever it is, no. But I'm saying it's a fire in the toaster because if we all get off the sofa and walk into the kitchen and throw some water on the toaster, we can put it out. We know how to get rid of nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the inspections in Iraq worked. They knew exactly where all their stuff was. You know, you can't hide nuclear weapons.
If we could just treat the rest of the world like we've done at Iraq. But anyway, listen, I don't want to get, I'm sorry, but the thing is, let's stress this thing you're doing. You're involved and your colleagues are involved in this May 1 thing.
Well, what I'd like
people to
know,
know, and because that's not that far off now, and that people could be in touch with you and maybe get actively involved in something that's real rather than just ranting like I'm doing.
No, you're not. It's very stimulating.
Well, no, but you know what I'm saying?
No, but it is what you're really representing in a way, like the despair people feel. Like we all know something's amiss.
Yeah.
And you're saying what's happening? What makes you think it's going to change?
Well, how can we effectively?
why not?
No, how can we effectively challenge them at a systems level? Not at a level of ethics, or not at a level of be nice, but at a systems level where
get
you
out
get
on
them.
The street.
Yeah, but no. All right, theoretically.
That's what you have to
I'm talking about theoretical economics. What are you going to do about displacement of labor? You're not going to have the labor theory of value. All these things are going to have. Anyway, but talk about the May 1 thing, okay? Because that's coming up, and we're coming toward the end.
What people can do is this is a New York audience.
Yes, by and large,
write letters to Bloomberg and call him, or ask, if you're not in New York City, ask your mayor to join the campaign and come to the UN. And our website is www.abolitionnow.org.
Say it again.
abolitionnow.org.
Okay, it's a great site, and it's very rich.
And
There's a lot
it'll
of
tell you
there.
how to download a form that you can give to your mayor, call him up, go see him.
This could be a mayor at any level, a village
Any
mayor, town
yes.
mayor? Okay,
We're
good
saying,
idea. That's
you know,
something
it's
like
like
organizing the
grassroots.
barons. Yeah.
It's a grassroots activity,
Yeah.
and the mayor is our closest person to the grassroots.
That really is interesting.
And whatever you do, get to Central Park on May 1st.
Okay, Central Park,
we
May
want
1st.
that UN meeting to start the next day, where there's hundreds of thousands of us raising our voices and saying, we want you guys, you're here for this meeting, you start the negotiations for the treaty to get rid of nuclear weapons.
Yeah. Is that meeting May 2nd?
Starts May 2nd.
We'll
and
be
it
there
goes
May
for
Day.
4 weeks.
And put out a May Day call.
This is our May Day call.
All right, put out a May Day call to these people at that level, which might be, that's really interesting, is that the mayoral level is sort of, it's not all caught up in the big deal.
It's where we can
Washington.
do something.
Yeah.
And in New York, since
concern.
Bloomberg did not show up for that little video you saw, he wasn't at the meeting. The mayors
he could have been.
That was the last year when they were preparing.
Yeah, okay.
So since we invited him. You know, we tried to get him to welcome them.
On his volition, he could have come and give support,
so
and he may.
And this year we're going to have 100 mayors. Last year we had 15, which you saw in the video.
Good for you. That's growth, right?
So we have to have Bloomberg there. And so whatever, if you know him personally, call him up or write him a letter. No, I'm saying to your audience.
Yeah, or to people who do, right,
Or call him or, ask him how come he's not going to welcome these delegation of other mayors.
Okay, and this program, if all's going well, this program will stream to the Internet. We let people know it might be somebody in India or somebody in South Africa or somebody in Europe or something. And at that level, that's an interesting idea. It really is. And, that organizing at that level because you're closer to the people.
Right, that was the thought.
Right.
And because in Japan, the mayors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki couldn't get their prime minister. Their prime minister is part of the U.S. empire.
Right. You got a public opinion, national, world public opinion, and then they are sort of, the political process sort of, immunizes them from what the people really think by having special interest manipulators of the economics, and so you get the gang at the top, and so you want to get it at a level where you might be able to tap the interests of the people. And it would be good if we had an overall systems analysis to offer to those people who want that's going to challenge the system in a way that's really going to be effective.
Well, ultimately, we're going to have to change the political power. We're going to take back our political
and
power.
The economic power and everything. Well, it might be we have to lead to a real human liberation in a fulfilling kind of way.
But why not?
That we have very little. We have too little vision that we're carrying it against the forces that seem to be in the saddle. But listen, Alice, thank you really very much for coming in, for all the work. I really appreciate it. And, I'll be there. And everybody I can drag there, I'll be there. So good luck on that, and thanks a lot for participating in the program.
Thank you so much.
Your pleasure. The perception is Alice Slater, a real force for good in this universe, if ever there be one. And we encourage you all to get in touch, abolitionnow.org.
Yeah.
And you want to go there, we put the notice up, and you're encouraged to do that. And once again, Alice, really thanks a whole lot for coming in. Great pleasure.
Wonderful to be here.
Yeah, so I'm sorry I ran on and on. But
I'm sorry I got
I don't know, but it's